The millionaire meets the new housemaid and is paralyzed upon seeing her necklace. Hello, welcome. Enjoy, subscribe, and activate notifications. Eliza adjusted her bag on her shoulder and took one last look at the orphanage that had been her home for 19 years. The large red brick building housed childhood memories and moments of loneliness, but also of friendship and resilience. With a deep sigh, she turned and walked towards the door, her heart racing with anxiety and excitement for what was to come next. On that sunny day, Eliza was about to embark on a new journey. With the help of the orphanage director, she had secured a job as a housekeeper at the mansion of William Maxwell, a renowned real estate mogul. The opportunity seemed like a distant dream, but now it was within her reach. Upon arriving at the imposing mansion, Eliza was greeted by Harry, the butler who had served the Maxwell family for over 30 years. His stern gaze and rigid posture intimidated Eliza, but she kept her head high, determined to prove her capability. Harry showed her around the mansion's premises in a formal and cold manner, his words filled with distrust. "I hope you understand the responsibility this job demands," Harry said as they walked through the elegant corridors. "The Maxwell family is very demanding and does not tolerate mistakes." Eliza nodded, trying not to show her worry. "I understand, Mr. Harry. I will do my best." The first few days were challenging. Harry never missed an opportunity to criticize her work, pointing out any minor slip-up. Eliza felt the pressure increase with every disapproving look from the butler, but she did not let it discourage her. Her determination was stronger than any criticism. Eliza woke up every day before dawn, starting her tasks with admirable diligence. She cleaned the rooms, took care of the common areas, and kept the kitchen spotless. Despite Harry's constant criticisms, she dedicated herself to learning and improving, absorbing every detail about how to keep the mansion in perfect order. One particularly difficult morning, Eliza was cleaning the chandeliers in the living room when Harry approached. "You left a stain on the dining table last night," he said harshly. "That is unacceptable." Eliza swallowed, feeling the weight of Harry's words. "I'm sorry, Mr. Harry, I will pay more attention." Harry sighed, still distrustful. "We'll see. Remember, this job demands perfection." Despite the difficulties, Eliza found moments of peace while working in the mansion's garden. In particular, it was a refuge where she could breathe and reflect. She would sit for a few minutes during her breaks, admiring the flowers and listening to the bird songs. It was there that she recharged her energy and remembered the reason she was there: to build a better life for herself. That night, after a long day of work, Eliza lay down in the small bed of her room in the mansion, exhausted but satisfied with her progress. Although Harry continued to be a critical and demanding presence, she knew she was learning and growing every day. Determined to prove her worth, she closed her eyes, ready to face the challenges of the next day. The sun had barely risen on the horizon when Eliza was already up, starting another day of work at the Maxwell mansion. Her goal was simple: to demonstrate that she was capable of performing her duties with excellence, even in the face of Harry's constant criticisms. The kitchen, one of the places she liked to work the most, was her refuge. That morning, she cleaned the surfaces carefully, lost in thoughts about her future. As Eliza was absorbed in her tasks, she did not notice the firm and determined steps approaching. William Maxwell, the family's patriarch, had just returned from a long business trip. Exhaustion was stamped on his face, but there was something deeper in his eyes. A silent melancholy, a weight he had carried in his heart since the disappearance of his daughter. William entered the kitchen in search of a glass of water, but what he found left him momentarily paralyzed. Eliza was turned away, focused on her work, but the heart-shaped necklace hanging from her neck immediately caught William's attention. It was impossible not to recognize that necklace. It was identical to the one his daughter wore the day she disappeared. "Excuse me," William said, trying to keep his voice steady but feeling a lump in his throat. Eliza turned quickly, surprised by the presence of the master of the house. "Good morning, Mr. Maxwell," she replied, trying to hide her nervousness. William took a few steps toward her, his eyes fixed on the necklace. "That necklace, it's very beautiful. Have you had it for a long time? Eliza instinctively touched the necklace, as she always did when she was nervous. Yes, sir. As long as I can remember, I've had this necklace. I grew up with it. It's always been present in my life. It's the only memory I have of my past. William felt a wave of conflicting emotions. The resemblance of the necklace to his lost daughters could not be a coincidence. He needed to find out more about Eliza, her past, and how that necklace came to her. Interesting, William said, disguising the intensity of his thoughts. Well, I hope you are adjusting well to the job here. I'm doing my best, Mr. Maxwell, Eliza responded, relieved to have a friendly conversation different from her interactions with Harry. William nodded and headed to the refrigerator to get the water he initially sought, but in his mind, a whirlwind of thoughts was forming. He needed to investigate more about this young woman and the story behind that necklace. Later that day, William entered his office and made a call to an old friend, the owner of a respected detective agency. He briefly explained the situation, requesting a detailed investigation into Eliza's past. Something inside him said that this young woman might be linked to his past in a way he never imagined. Meanwhile, Eliza continued her routine, unaware of the storm that was about to form around her. The necklace on her neck, a symbol of her mysterious past, now became the center of a new investigation that could change her life forever. William was determined to discover the truth, no matter the cost. William sat in his leather chair in the office, the phone still in his hand. The conversation with his detective friend David had been quick, but full of implications. David promised to start the investigation immediately and ensure that all leads were followed rigorously. William knew he for the opportunity, Eliza replied sincerely. William observed the necklace shining in the library's light, feeling a tightening in his chest. Keep it up, Eliza. You're doing a good job. As William left, Eliza felt a strange sensation that something deeper was happening. The days passed slowly for William since he began the investigation into Eliza. Each discovery by Detective David seemed to bring him closer to a truth he both desired and feared. When David finally called to schedule an urgent meeting, William knew the moment of revelation had arrived. David arrived at the Maxwell mansion with a thick envelope in his hands. He was immediately led to William's office, where the businessman was anxiously waiting. William, we've gathered all the available information. There is no doubt that Eliza was found in a park 17 years ago and taken to an orphanage. All records confirm this story. The necklace she wears is the only connection to her past, David said, handing the envelope to William. William opened the envelope with trembling hands, leafing through the documents meticulously. Every detail matched the little information he had about his daughter's disappearance. He knew he needed to talk to Eliza immediately. Thank you, David. Now I need to talk to her, William said, rising from his chair. Eliza was in the kitchen, finishing arranging the utensils, when Harry called her to go to William's office. Nervous, she headed to the place, not knowing what to expect. Entering the office, she found William sitting behind his desk with a serious but kind look. He invited her to sit in front of him. Eliza, I need to talk to you about something very important, William began, trying to keep his voice steady. Have you ever wondered about your past, about who your parents are? Eliza nodded, curiosity and anxiety shining in her eyes. Yes, sir. I've always wanted to know, but I never had any clue beyond this necklace. William took a deep breath before continuing. This necklace belonged to my daughter who disappeared 17 years ago. The information we have about you matches her disappearance. I believe there is a possibility that you are my daughter. Eliza remained silent, trying to process what she had just heard. The idea was both exciting and terrifying. Are you saying that I might be your daughter? Yes, Eliza, but we need to be sure. I would like us to do a DNA test to confirm the paternity. That will give us a definitive answer. Eliza felt a mix of emotions, hope, fear, disbelief. Sure, sir. I'll take the test. William smiled, relieved by the positive response. Very well. I will organize everything. I want you to know that regardless of the result, you are very important to us here. The next day, William and Eliza went to a specialized laboratory to conduct the DNA test. The procedure was quick, but the wait for the results seemed eternal. During those days, William tried to maintain normality in the mansion, but the tension was palpable. While waiting for the results, William observed Eliza with a mix of hope and apprehension. He saw in her features of his lost daughter and could not shake the idea that fate had finally brought them together. Eliza, for her part, felt divided. The possibility of discovering her true origin was both exciting and terrifying. She wondered how her life would be if William turned out to be her father, and how that would change everything around her. In the Maxwell mansion, the atmosphere was charged with expectation. Harry watched everything from afar, distrustful of the changes this might bring. He knew that confirming Eliza's paternity could drastically alter the dynamics in the house and possibly threaten his position. The following days were pure anxiety for everyone. William and Eliza tried to maintain the routine, but the wait for the DNA test result loomed over them like a shadow. Every phone call, every knock on the door made William's heart race. Finally, the day of revelation arrived. The laboratory called to inform that the results were ready. William and Eliza went together to retrieve the envelope that contained the answer to the question tormenting them. Back at the mansion, in William's office, they opened the envelope with trembling hands, but did not read the result yet. The moment of truth was about to arrive, and they both knew that regardless of what was written on that paper, their lives would never be the same. William and Eliza were sitting across the desk with the envelope containing the DNA test result between them. William's hands trembled as he held the envelope, and Eliza could feel the tension in the air. The moment of truth had come. "Let's open it together," William said, his voice trembling but full of determination. Eliza nodded, trying to contain the anxiety bubbling inside her. With a careful gesture, William opened the envelope and took out the document. His eyes scanned the printed words, and he felt the world stop for a moment. "Eliza," William began, his voice choked with emotion. "The result is positive. I am your father." For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Eliza looked at William, trying to grasp the magnitude of this revelation. Tears began to run down her face. "You are my daughter," William repeated, his voice now filled with emotion. He opened his arms, and Eliza ran to him, hugging him tightly. Both were crying, a mix of relief and joy enveloping them. "I finally found my family," Eliza whispered, feeling complete for the first time in her life. William held Eliza's face in his hands, his eyes full of tears. "We have so much time to make up for, but I promise we will do it together." The news quickly spread throughout the mansion, and Amber, William's wife, was the next to find out. When William told her about the confirmation, Amber was paralyzed for a moment before bursting into tears of joy. "My daughter! Our daughter!" Amber said, running to embrace Eliza. "I can't believe we finally found her." Amber's embrace was warm and welcoming, filling a void Eliza had always felt. Now she had a mother, someone who loved her deeply and was there to embrace her with an open heart. Joy took over the Maxwell mansion. The employees who had observed the changes with curiosity and apprehension now joined in the family celebration. Harry, the butler, watched from a distance, trying to hide his true feelings about the situation. Eliza began to integrate more deeply into the Maxwell family life. William and Amber included her in all aspects of family life, from intimate dinners to discussions about family business. The transition was not easy for Eliza, but the unconditional support of her parents made everything more bearable. William, in turn, was determined to teach Eliza everything he knew about the family business. He knew it would be a challenge, but he also believed that Eliza had the strength and determination needed to excel. "I want you to know, Eliza," William said in one of their conversations, "that I am here to support you every step of the way. You are part of this family, and together, we will build a bright future." Eliza nodded, feeling grateful and motivated. She knew the road ahead would be full of challenges, but she was also eager to learn and grow. With William and Amber by her side, she felt ready to face any obstacle. Meanwhile, Harry watched everything with growing unease. He knew that Eliza's presence would change many things in the Maxwell family dynamics, and consequently, his own position in the house. His discontent began to grow, and he could not help but feel a touch of envy and fear about the future. The weeks following the revelation were a whirlwind of emotions and new routines for Eliza. She was gradually adapting to life as a member of the Maxwell family, participating in daily activities and learning about the family business. The mansion, once a place of work, now transformed into a true home for her. One night during a quiet dinner, William and Eliza were talking about her childhood. Amber had already retired, leaving father and daughter to deepen their bond. "Eliza, there's something I've always wanted to know," William began, putting the fork aside. "Do you remember anything about the day you were found? Any memory that could help us understand better what happened?" Eliza frowned, trying to access the vague and fragmented memories of her childhood. "I was very young, but there's something I never forgot," she said slowly. "I remember a man. He took me to the park. I can't see his face clearly, but I remember he was nervous. He told me to stay there, that someone would come to get me." William remained thoughtful, his heart aching at the thought of his little daughter being left alone in a park. "That man? Do you remember anything else about him? Any feature? Anything that could help us identify him?" Eliza shook her head. "Not much, just that he was nervous and seemed in a hurry. I think he was wearing a hat, but everything is very blurry." William took Eliza's hand, determination forming in his eyes. "That's already something. We will find out who he is and what really happened. I'll contact David again and ask him to investigate more thoroughly." The next day, William contacted David, explaining the new information Eliza had revealed. David, always meticulous, assured that he would dedicate all necessary resources to follow this new lead. "I will reopen the investigation with a focus on that description, William. We will check records, witnesses, and anyone who might remember something about that day in the park," David said, noting all the details William shared. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Eliza felt a mix of relief and anxiety. Relief for finally sharing her memories and having William's support, but also anxiety about what these investigations might reveal. Harry watched the movements with growing concern, his thoughts murky and filled with uncertainties about his future in the house. David's investigation quickly began to bear fruit. He interviewed former orphanage employees and residents of the area near the park where Eliza was found. Slowly, fragments of information began to come together, forming a clearer but still incomplete picture. One afternoon, William received a call from David. "William, I have some news. I managed to find a witness who remembers a man leaving a girl in the park at that time. He couldn't see many details, but he confirmed that the man was wearing a hat and seemed to be in a hurry." William felt a mix of hope and unease. "That's good, David. Keep investigating. We need to know who he was and why he left my daughter there." David agreed and promised to continue following all leads. Meanwhile, William decided it was time to share this news with Eliza. He called her to his office, and together they reviewed the new findings. "We're making progress, Eliza. Every little detail brings us closer to the truth," William said, holding her hand with affection. "We will find out who did this and why. You deserve to know the whole truth." Eliza felt a wave of gratitude and determination. "Thank you, Dad. I know we will discover the truth together." As the investigation continued, Eliza and William prepared to face any revelation that might arise. United in the search for truth, they knew that regardless of what they discovered, they would face it together, further strengthening the bond they now shared. As the investigation continued, the dynamic in the Maxwell mansion began to change. Eliza, now recognized as William's legitimate daughter, was increasingly integrating into family life and business. Margot embraced her with open arms, and Eliza's presence brought new joy to the home. However, not everyone shared that enthusiasm. Harry, the lifelong butler, began to show signs of discontent. His expression, once impassive, now revealed constant tension. He watched Eliza with a mix of distrust and resentment. With each new responsibility she took on in the family business, Harry's unease grew. One day, William noticed Harry's changed behavior. The butler was more brusque and impatient, especially with Eliza. William decided it was time for a frank conversation. "Harry, can we talk?" William called the butler to his office. Harry entered, maintaining his rigid posture. "Yes, Mr. Maxwell. How can I help you?" William observed him for a moment before speaking. "I've noticed that you've been different since Eliza joined us. I would like to know if something is bothering you." Harry hesitated, but his expression hardened. "Mr. Maxwell, I have served this family for 30 years. I've always considered my loyalty unquestionable, but with Eliza's arrival, it seems everything has changed." William frowned. "Harry, Eliza is my daughter. She has every right to be here and to be part of the family business. If something else is bothering you, I need you to be frank with me." Harry shook his head, avoiding William's gaze. "Nothing, sir. I'm just adapting to the changes." William was not entirely convinced, but decided not to press further at that moment. However, he knew something deeper was at play. Harry had always been a pillar of trust, but his recent attitude raised suspicions. Meanwhile, David continued investigating. He was determined to discover any connection between the man who left Eliza in the park and anyone else who might be involved. William maintained frequent contact with the detective, anxiously awaiting new information. The tension in the Maxwell mansion was palpable. Harry, feeling his place threatened, began to act more erratically. Small mistakes in his daily tasks, sarcastic comments, furtive glances became frequent. Eliza, although noticing the butler's behavior, remained focused on her responsibilities, determined not to let anything affect her new life. William knew that the truth about Eliza's past was getting closer. He also knew he needed to be alert to any signs of betrayal within his own home. Harry's true nature was beginning to reveal itself, and William was determined to protect his family at all costs. After some weeks of investigations, David called William with an urgent tone. "William, we need to meet. I've discovered something important about the man who left Eliza in the park." William felt a chill run down his spine. "I'm on my way, David." In the detective's office, David presented a detailed dossier. "William, my investigations led to a disturbing discovery. The man who left Eliza in the park 17 years ago was none other than Harry, the butler." William was stunned. "Harry, that's incredible. Do you have proof of this?" David nodded and handed William a series of documents and photographs. Witnesses finally confirmed the man's identity, and old records show suspicious connections between Harry and the events surrounding your daughter's disappearance. Back at the mansion, William felt a mix of anger and betrayal. He called Harry to his office, holding the evidence with trembling hands. "Harry, we need to talk now," William said firmly. Harry entered, maintaining a facade of calm, but William could see the nervousness in his eyes. "Yes, Mr. Maxwell, how can I help?" William threw the evidence on the table between them. "Explain this to me, Harry. Explain how you could do this to my family." Harry looked at the documents, and the color drained from his face. "Mr. Maxwell, I can explain." "There is no explanation that justifies what you did," William shouted, his anger overflowing. "You took my daughter, left her alone in a park. Why?" Harry finally broke down, his defenses crumbling. "I was desperate. When I learned that your daughter was born, I feared losing my place here. I always thought that without heirs, you would leave everything to me. I did something terrible, and I regret it every day." William looked at Harry with pain and fury mixed in his expression. "You destroyed our lives, Harry. I trusted you." "Forgive me, Mr. William. I did not do it with bad intentions," Harry said. William, with a whirlwind of emotions knowing the whole truth, decided to call his lawyer so they could go together to a police station. William and his lawyer, Dr. Levi, gathered all the evidence against Harry and headed to the police station. The weight of the recent revelations was still fresh in their minds, but William knew he could no longer delay seeking justice. At the station, they were received by Chief Tyler Harris, a man of stern but fair appearance. Dr. Levy presented the documents and evidence incriminating Harry. "Tyler Harris, we have compelling evidence that Harry, the butler of the Maxwell family, was responsible for the disappearance of Mr. William's daughter 17 years ago," Dr. Levi explained. handing over the dossier to the Tyler. The Tyler leafed through the documents, examining photos, testimonies, and records. His expression hardened as he grasped the gravity of the case. "These are very serious accusations. We will proceed with the arrest immediately. I need Mr. Maxwell to be prepared to formalize the complaint." "I'm ready to do whatever is necessary," William replied with unshakable determination in his voice. Back at the mansion, the tension was palpable. Harry was visibly nervous, aware that something was about to happen. When the police arrived, he tried to maintain his composure, but his eyes betrayed his growing fear. "Mr. Harry, you are under arrest for the abduction of Mr. Maxwell's daughter," announced Tyler Harris. "You have the right to remain silent, but anything you say can and will be used against you in court." Harry did not resist the arrest. The handcuffs on his wrists seemed to seal his fate. As he was led to the patrol car, he looked at William with remorseful and fearful eyes. "William, I'm so sorry," Harry stammered. "I thought I was protecting my future, but I ended up destroying yours. I did this because I was afraid of losing my place here, my livelihood when your daughter was born. I knew everything would change. I acted out of desperation, not malice." William remained firm, though Harry's words touched a part of his compassion. "Harry, your desperation does not justify what you did. You destroyed our lives. Now justice will be served." At the police station, Harry was formally interrogated and confessed to his crimes in detail, explaining his motivations and the fear that drove him to act so cruelly. His confessions were recorded, and he was transferred to prison, where he would await trial. William returned home with a mix of relief and sadness. The betrayal of someone he deeply trusted left a painful scar, but there was also a sense of justice being restored. Eliza, upon learning of Harry's arrest, felt a surge of emotions. The truth had finally come to light, but the path to it had been filled with pain and bitter revelations. That night, William, Amber, and Eliza gathered in the living room, embracing and finding comfort in each other's presence. The Maxwell mansion, which for so long had harbored secrets and betrayals, was now beginning to transform into a true home where truth and love prevailed. "Let's move forward," William said, looking at his wife and daughter. "Together as a family, nothing will separate us again." Harry's imprisonment marked the end of a dark chapter in the Maxwell family's life. With the truth finally revealed and justice being served, William, Amber, and Eliza were determined to move forward and reclaim the lost time. The atmosphere in the mansion began to change, shifting from constant tension to one of hope and renewal. In the days that followed, William decided to spend more time with his family. He reduced his work hours, delegating more responsibilities to his trusted executives. Eliza, for her part, continued to integrate into the family business, but now with a new purpose: to strengthen family ties. Every morning, the family gathered for breakfast, a moment they rarely shared before due to busy schedules. The conversations were light and filled with laughter, with William and Amber delighting in listening to Eliza's childhood stories from the orphanage and her dreams for the future. "I want to learn everything about the family business, Dad," Eliza said one morning. "But I also want us to have time to get to know each other better." William smiled, touched by his daughter's sincerity. "Of course, dear. We will balance everything. I want you to feel part of every aspect of our lives." The afternoons were often spent in the mansion's garden, where Eliza and Amber tended the flowers and planned new flower beds. The garden, which had always been beautiful, now flourished like never before, reflecting the family's new energy. "This place is more beautiful every day," Amber commented while planting new flowers beside Eliza, "and I feel that it's a reflection of what we're building together." Eliza smiled, feeling truly at home. "I'm so happy to be here with you. I never thought I would find my family, and moreover, so much love." At night, the family gathered in the living room to watch movies, play board games, or simply chat. William and Amber shared stories of their youth, and Eliza delighted in listening to every detail, feeling more connected to her parents every day. In one of those moments, William made a suggestion that brought tears to everyone's eyes. Let's take a family trip, something we've always wanted to do but never had the opportunity for. Amber agreed immediately. That would be wonderful. We can go somewhere special where we can create new memories. Eliza was enthusiastic about the idea. I'd love that. We can explore new places and enjoy every moment together. With the trip planned, the family began organizing every detail. The anticipation of new adventures together brought additional joy to the Maxwell mansion. The trip planning was as exciting as the trip itself, and each family member contributed with ideas and wishes. The Maxwell mansion, once marked by secrets and tensions, now resonated with laughter and love. The halls that had witnessed years of loneliness and sadness now vibrated with life and happiness. The painful past was being replaced by a present full of promises and a future full of hope. We're building something wonderful here, William said, holding Amber and Eliza's hands as they looked at the garden illuminated by the moon. A home filled with love and joy. Eliza looked at her parents with gratitude. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. Let's make every day count. With that promise, the Maxwell family prepared for a bright future, united by love and determined to make the most of every moment together. The mansion, now a true home, was a symbol of resilience and the ability to transform pain into happiness, showing that together they could overcome any challenge and build a life full of joy and hope. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the story. I'm sure the next video appearing on your screen will also move you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. A big kiss, and see you in the next story.